of housekeeping notes. We do want to go ahead and thank Tech Systems for providing the pizza tonight. And we will yeah. But they're moving downtown soon. Oh. So I expect to see more of them more often. Just a couple here and there.
And what I'm doing, everyone is encouraged to do.
Yes, go back and get more pizza, please. We had talked briefly a few months ago about opportunities for volunteering. So I'm currently talking with the Knoxville Humane Society, Knox County Humane Society, to set up something soon for hopefully being able to take a pup or a kitten out for the day to kind of give them a day out of shelter. So if you're interested in that kind of something, let me know. Second thing, Sacred Harvest Food Bank. Fall is always their busy season. Desperately need packers. They get plenty of donations. They have a hard time finding people to pack up those donations. So I'll be setting up a Saturday morning time to go to the building down inside in Maryville. It's in Maryville. Second Harvest Food Bank building is a big warehouse. And funny story, actually painted the mural on your way in. So if you go and you don't go with us, stop by the mural and take a picture with it. I'd love to have it. Just kind of a personal little thing. All right. Does anybody else have any other announcements for tonight? Fantastic. I do want to thank Wesley and Ben, other two members of the board that are here tonight. Wesley is even the walking movement and still come to be with us tonight. So thanks for making the trip out and helping me sort through the tech up here.
I'm offended upon my chaperone.
We appreciate all of you guys coming out in the rain. I know rainy nights tend to drive numbers down, so we appreciate you joining us online and also for everybody that came in. And with that, I'm going to get started. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex Franklin. I've been around, done a lot of things. But as far as IT goes, I worked IT in television. I worked IT in the health system here before moving to ORL, working at the lab. I took a brief break from IT when I left Georgia Television. Spent some time in manufacturing and inadvertently kind of got sucked into IT there a little bit. Before moving back to IT, Covenant Health, I took a position overnight in the data center, and that's where my home lab journey started. So, you are going to get a little bit of death by PowerPoint tonight. I wanted to do a demo, but I made the cardinal error of patching my system over the weekend, and now I have a mess to clean up. So, we're just going to talk about the technical stuff tonight. Some of this may be a little beginner, and I hope you can just bear with me as I work through. At the end, I hope you have plenty of questions. I also brought some of the things from my home lab. It was very easy since a lot of it is broken right now. So if you want to come up and take a look at some of the pieces and parts that I currently deploy in my home lab, you're more than welcome to do so. I also brought a couple of books that kind of helped me get into it. Just kind of look around. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, so disclaimer time. Always got to have a disclaimer, right? Before we get started, the content of this presentation does not reflect the views of my employer or this organization. They are my own opinions. Another thing to note, if you know Linux, what I'm about to tell you shouldn't come as a surprise. Opinions on Linux are like opinions on politics. Everybody has them, and everybody thinks theirs right, and everybody thinks yours is wrong.
I'm going to go back
How about it actually had a version release like recently?
So with that being said, I would like tonight, if we could not debate the merits of a particular Linux distro and just talk about Linux as a whole when we talk about it. So my original use case, like I said, I joined Covenant Health in 2019, worked graveyard shift at the data center, entry-level position. I'm self-taught, so no certifications. They couldn't bring me in anywhere else. I wasn't content to sit there and play video games and watch backups run, so I got into everything. And eventually, one of the mentors on the day shift took notice of me and met me once a week with a Raspberry Pi and basically told me, here's your Pi, learn Linux. We'll meet once a week. You can ask me questions, but no cheating. I couldn't use the little thumb drive that came with it that had all the operating systems on it. So, and I couldn't save the SD card. So my first two things were to learn how to, or to get it to save to a 2.5-inch SSD and install the Raspberry Pi operating system. At that time, it was Raspbian, I believe is what it's called. And I had to learn how to do that on my own without using the USB. So that started out with Home Lab Mark 1. So in the first year the first 2 years, from 2019 to 2021, I was busy. I got my hands on an HP Z640 Z Station, which was an old MRI machine, and that became my virtualization machine. Got my hands on some HP Mini Elite Desk 800s. Some Gen 2s, Gen 3s, Gen 5s. This is an old Gen 2. And from that, I built my first real network. So 32 nodes and covered a ridiculous amount of Linux distros, which actually I'll get to next. So some of the things that I learned to self-host right away. Because I was learning to be a Windows and a Linux systems administrator, there were things that I had to learn. I really had to focus on for our work. Backups, RSA, group policy, Active Directory, those types of things. If you're Windows admin or Windows admin, you know. At the same time, I was learning Linux. So some of the things that we wanted to do was patch our fleet of 300 Raspberry Pis that spread out over the hospital system that weren't attached to the network at the time because there was one way to patch them. So I started researching Ansible and sort of became an Ansible Terraform SME, for lack of a better word, because no one else in the hospital was really working on it. So some of the other things that I did in my home lab besides Ansible and Terraform, I had VMware. I was an early adopter of Home Assistant, Plex, Pi-hole, FreeNAS, Kdenlive Live. I was still doing podcasting, and we would switch to a video format at the time. So I was editing in Kdenlive Live and Audacity, and at this time, I was still running a lot on Windows, but I had tried to move more into using Linux as a daily driver.
I have to ask, is there a version of Audacity from
Sorry.
The Audacity available only interested in Windows?
Audacity is available on all your platforms. You can use it on Mac, Windows, or Linux. So let's take a look at the operating systems. All the operating systems in this particular setup, I'm not going to read them all off. There's 19 versions of Linux along with Windows, no Macs there. So each individual node had its own operating system that was different than all the others. And I went from node to node to node and tried different things, broke different things. And these slides will be available, of course. You can go through and look. I know the font is fairly small, but I've got a mixture of Debian base in there. I've got SUSE base. I've got Red Hat base, Arch base, some really weird distros in there.
No Hannah Montana.
No Hannah Montana, no Puppy Linux.
No Nix Linux? You didn't try Nix? You didn't try Nix?
I'll get to it. Remember, this is 2019 and 2021. Nix was still relatively new. And there were no immutable operating systems in this particular setup.
At this time, I think Atomic was the only
existed, right?
I'm sorry.
Atomic and CoreOS.
I think so. I don't even know. I couldn't get my hands on CoreOS at the time.
Didn't you build Slackware too?
So quickly moving on, second use case, I
Still needed
leveraged what my mentor taught me and worked my way out of the data center. So I was in the data center for about 2 years. I was just a few days short of my 2-year anniversary when I accepted a position with the systems group at Covenant, and I was the first Windows Linux hybrid admin that they specifically designated. My role there was patching primarily, but I was only there for about a year and a half. Really just long enough to implement their patching solution before getting a job at ORNL and a new role as a platform engineer. So my lab had to change directions. I turned all my HP minis that were in nodes that were on all these other operating systems into my first Kubernetes cluster, which used CoreOS and OKD to mimic what we were doing at ORNL. So here, 32 nodes. A lot of the same, but if you'll notice at the bottom, System 76 Meerkat turned into my daily driver. I completely left Windows when I moved to the lab, which had its own problems. There were still things that I tried to do in the lab on Linux that just didn't work well or had way too much time investment involved to make the juice worth the squeeze. We'll talk about here in a second. And brownie, or I guess brownie points if you know where that saying come from before we get to the slide. So this brought up Home Lab Mark 2.0. So self-hosted software in this one, still with Ansible. I started learning how to use Facelift. Proxmox was on this list. Home Assistant. I moved off of Jellyfin because of their data collection policies. I moved off of Plex because of their data collection policies onto Jellyfin. Ceph was now my storage, DaVinci Resolve as my video editor, played with Docker. Kubernetes isn't on there, but Kubernetes is a big part of this too. Obsidian and Audacity again, yes.
Were you running remote rendering on Resolve?
No, I was not. DaVinci Resolve is a program that says it will run on Linux, and it mostly does. But really, the only operating system they support is Rocky 8.6 or something like that, and I tried running it all over the place. Couldn't really get it to work. So, operating systems that used here, if you'll notice, quite a bit of change. Lots of immutable, not lots of immutables, but several immutables scattered through there. There's our NixOS. I found out I actually didn't care for the immutables very much. Most of the time, more effort to get something to run on them than just doing it on a regular distro.
Question for you.
Yes.
So, in iteration 1 and iteration 2, what was your reason for it? Was it to branch out from what?
So, my mentor had a particularly poor opinion of Red Hat as a company, and we were evaluating ways to get out of that ecosystem. So, what I did, not only to grow my Linux knowledge, I wanted to be able to be efficient with all of them, but I was also looking for things that would work well with programs I knew we were using. For instance, like the ID machines. They have a very particular way of doing things. It can only be on the network for 10 minutes at a time before you have to rejoin the network. Made them notoriously hard to patch. So that was actually a big reason why I was looking at immutables was an attempt to streamline some of the processes that were either Windows or we felt like we could replace Red Hat.
Just those
ID machine.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. And I lumped these into 2-year sections versus 1-year sections, so I didn't have 9 slides.
Question for you, Al.
Yeah.
Talk about those. How are you doing all this together?
I'm sorry.
How was your network set up?
So at this time, I had one flat mesh network. I used Tailscale, and basically at that time, they would give you 20 devices for free. I met them at the airport in Tampa. I met one of the reps, and he gave me a license for 100. So
license.
originally it was 20. They eventually moved everybody to the 100 license. So I didn't feel special.
Not at scale, this was still tail scale hosted.
Tailscale, yeah. So I also used Tailscale as my DNS at the time. I tried to use Ubuntu and it failed miserably. Trying to host my local DNS, Tailscale is actually very good at providing DNS for you to use at home if you're not interested in learning how to set up your own DNS.
There was a bit of overlap there with Pi-hole. You needed for any of your DNS.
I tried to use Pi-hole at the beginning. If you notice, it wasn't on the list of software in Mark II.
Just a personal opinion, I'll for a local DNS server.
Yes.
Well, I never got it to work properly, and at one point I managed to kill internet for the entire home. We don't have cable, so the spousal approval factor dropped to the floor, and he wanted to throw it out the window. Do my body in front of it. Yeah. It's a neat experiment, and I learned a lot from messing with it, but I didn't find a lot of success. So at this point, I did have a multi-generational Pi cluster. I kept my Gen 2s, Gen 3s I found online for a fairly good price. I've got a couple of Gen 4s. At this point, I've got 2 Gen 5s. So they don't really look a lot different, but the performance with that particular Pi cluster was not great. So I ended up moving all of these to more of what they were suited for, which was edge scenarios.
And now Gen 5 Pi costs $350.
Yeah, but it didn't hurt, right? Okay, so all that to say, my current use case. So what started as one Raspberry Pi grew to 35 nodes, all individual Linux distributions, to now back to streamlining and having fun again. So I used my home lab to learn what I needed for work. And now that I moved into more of a non-technical liaison role, I found that I don't have to do that as much. So now I've turned my home lab back into learning what I want to learn and having a good time. So a couple of things here that I want to point out. When I moved platforms at ORNL, I want to say at one point, my Kubernetes cluster was 19 nodes. That was way more than I needed to run what I had at home. It was more about just learning to manage a cluster that size, because that is about the size of some of our clusters at work. During this time, I also came across N8N, Aluma, that allows you to locally host AI models. And I came across a fantastic deal on Mac Mini M2, which that combined memory is something else. And it's really great for running local LLMs. So I turned my home lab basically into a virtual assistant. I'm using it to help me finish writing several books that I've started. I host all of my media on it, audiobooks, music, movies, and television shows to the tune of about 18 terabytes worth of media presented. I have a weather station, so I use it. I have a weather tracking app that I built that I use. I'm trying to get a hold of Mike Witcher's models, but he won't answer my emails, darn him. And then develop some apps for me and the Jeep groups that I'm part of as far as tracking weather, trail conditions, so on and so forth. If you got an Android phone, that app, first have those apps may be available by the end of the year. We'll see. I have no idea what it's going to take to get it on the phone out of the store. So it may not ever be there.
It takes a
But
lot.
I'm happy.
To get it on Apple Store sucks. I've tried.
Up to a year.
Yeah.
These, have worked hard. This was built in single gap across the pilot Android and iOS up here. Looking at ones. So I'm not on that, but that's what we do.
Okay. Well, I'll talk more about that.
Yeah, so that
For sure.
should be
So my current home lab is only 8 nodes, minus a couple of files here and there. So what I really did was I wanted to focus on shrinking it down. I wanted it to be purpose built. The heart of my home lab now is a Mac Mini M2, like I talked about before. Its sole purpose is to run Olama and make agentic API calls. I don't use the interface. I don't ask it questions. I don't interact with it. Its sole purpose is to be a vehicle for N8N to do what N8N does. My average N8N workflow makes anywhere from 20 to 28 API calls every time it runs. I have things that run as often as 5 to 8 minutes, things that run once a day. It handles it beautifully. In fact, I'm looking for another great deal on another Mac Mini where I can expand what I'm currently doing.
How much memory do you have on that one?
On the Mac Mini, 16 gigs.
You're mostly just sitting a single model on it.
Yes. I have found great success just using the Llama model. So right now, I'm still on Llama 4. It does everything that I need it to do. My N8N handles all of my patching. Unfortunately, it also patches Sweet. I can blame it for that, right? So here I kind of have everything lined out. My Mac Mini M2 handles my AI workloads. I have 3 mini Elite Desk 800 Gen 9s. They run 12 cores. I have 64 gigabytes of memory per Elite Desk and 4 terabyte local storage. Each machine. My System 76 Meerkat is still my daily driver. I use Pop OS, the Cosmic Desktop. Cosmic Desktop is chef's kiss. It is great for a Linux desktop. I don't recommend it for an absolute beginner, but once you get into Linux a little bit, I highly recommend you check out the Cosmic Desktop. It is available on the distribution you choose. If not, Pop OS is Debian based and fairly intuitive. B-Link. Actually have my B-Link here because it broke the network connection, so it's easy to just unplug. Just a little nook, right? This is actually where all of my rags are stored. So, GM Tech Nook Box Gen 3, that's where my self-hosted apps, that's where they live with the exception of Home Assistant. And Home Assistant actually lives on this machine. And since Otis is broken, Home Assistant is here with me as well. And then I still have my two Raspberry Pi Gen 5s. Whenever I need to send something up or whenever I'm doing something crazy with the weather station that I don't want to put on the root box right away. So what about the Pis? They're mostly sitting in the drawer now. I still keep them. They're still great machines. If I need a quick cluster, I can still pull them out and spin them up. They're plenty capable. They're just, for what I'm doing right now, they just don't have enough juice. So, operating systems that are used now. Linux Mint is still what I put on most of my generic devices. The laptop that I'm running this slideshow on tonight is a Linux Mint. I've been using Linux Mint for a while. It just works, and that's what I like the most about it. I've not run into any problems getting anything that I want to work on it that I expect to work on. Which is a cryptic way of saying that I'm very particular about what I put on it, but I researched before I get it. One of the things you'll notice is Windows 11 is up here. I'm not a huge fan of Windows 11. at all.
I'm still on 10 and they're grabbing me by the collar telling me that was great.
But I still do quite a bit of video editing. DaVinci Resolve, while it runs slower on Windows, is much more stable on Windows. The Elgato suite of tools, the Stream Deck, the microphone, all of my editing tools through Blackmagic and Elgato just work better on Windows 11. And I still meet up with the same group of friends that I've been playing WoW with for 21 years. We still meet up every Sunday night from 7 to 9 to get on and just play. Since there's kernel level anti-cheat in WoW, running it on Linux can be done. It's just not great.
Also can get you back.
Can also get you banned. However, if you do decide to run it on Linux, I highly recommend Garuda Linux Dragonized. It's Arch. It works, but I wouldn't recommend it. Pop! OS is my daily driver. OpenSUSE Elite 15.6 is what is the operating system underneath my Kubernetes cluster. I realize that is out of support, but I don't like the launcher for 16, and I'm being stubborn. I just haven't updated it yet.
I will tell you that my 15.6 to 16.0 and 16.1 in-place upgrade went kind of shaky.
Yeah, well, I anticipate having to tear the whole thing down and stand it back up, and I'm just not ready to do that yet. However, breaking everything over the weekend may force me into I am attempting to self-host DNS again. I have the current version of Debian on a Generation 3 HP Mini Elite disk, and we are working through that. Zorn OS is what is currently on my GM Tech Nook box. I'm teaching my wife how to use Linux, and if you buy the premium version of Zorn OS, which is about $20, you can actually get it to the skin exactly like Windows 11 and exactly like Mac OS. It's a great way to donate to project work.
So, question.
Yeah.
More feedback since you're trying to stuff us since you already have massive Kubernetes cluster going on, but into the kind of more important DNS.
Could do
So
Power DNS or PHP IPAM too. That's a great combination for home.
or
DNS
We're going to do Emacs versus EI if we go any further.
so
Please you didn't say
Actually, are you doing resolution or installation?
So this is where I run this line between professional and personal. What I recognize as professional production grade software and what I, as a home labber, what I'm willing to say about what I feel or think about places and the software that I interact with. I personally feel that Red Hat has acted in bad faith with the open source community since removing CentOS, Ansible, AWS, OKD. There's a pattern of using open source labor to troubleshoot your software and write your code and deploy it behind the paywall that I just decided I had enough of on a personal level.
DNS, right?
No, Terraform is a HashiCorp product, which is now owned by Red Hat. And they pulled the Terraform binaries. I believe it's OpenTofu is the replacement that was ports and OpenPAL. And while I would like to support those products, I have also found that, and I still have my Z640. I just don't use a lot of versions.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, from this point you're describing in there, you would basically have a Debian VM. I don't know if you categorize this.
I have a Debian in a physical box.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Instead of like Debian on a physical machine, go ahead and utilize the exact container. You could do it with SCD, like in my lab, Jenkins with GitHub script for DNS. I just pop up what a help file is, my core file and its own file itself. But as far as the data structure goes, there's a lot of places in it. This box is distributed across your.
Sure. Call it being a cranky graybeard. But sometimes I just prefer boring and stable and decoupled versus elegant and clustered. I didn't get this the first time. I didn't solve it. So there's a part of it that just itches in the back of my head, and I have to figure this out before I can move on to. So again, part of that stubbornness, I think, that I tend to have. So things I'm hosting in the current Mark or the Mark 3 of the home lab, which is the current version. Again, this version of the home lab is actually meant to be able to hopefully one day run completely disconnected from the internet. Why? Because I want to. I want to see if I can do it. Also, it's funny because one of the things Wesley said about me when he first met me. I have a friend who had a home lab in his backyard. It was in a storage shed. He run power to it. He was at work one day, got a call from his neighbor. His home lab was on fire, and he lost everything. At that point, I'm just like, I got a lot of stuff plugged up. I'm using a lot of power strips. I should probably have a plan for fire. A plan for everything else, but not for fire. So I went out, I bought 4 of the G drives, 4 terabytes, and now my entire home lab, everything on it is backed up monthly to those 4 G drives. They probably go in a backpack that sits right beside my bed with a couple of other machines that I know I'm using in the lab. So it's kind of like a fire to go back, right? So if there's a fire, I throw the bag out the window, we throw the rope ladder down, I go grab the dollar and there you go. So, Bob Turner. But I also want to be able to run completely decoupled from the internet. So at this point, I'm also far less concerned on whether I can do something as to whether or not I should do something.
Let's say I love help on the lab and the daughter is
Look, if she's not up and running by that point, there's nothing I can do to help her. No, seriously, it's funny. She actually has a similar fire go bag. This actually hit both of us. It's got like pictures and stuff in it. So, I wasn't prepared for how that hit me. By the way, any of you ever had anybody affected by fire?
Yes. Apparently, if I'm friends with you, your house burns down.
Well, that's not good. But it's kind of like being robbed. Has anyone in here ever been robbed? I've been robbed. Come home and there's a violated feeling and you don't feel safe for months. Having someone you know and talk to every day have their something burned down and they lose everything. He didn't lose everything, but he lost everything in his home life. It kind of hit me harder than I thought it was going to. So I have sprinklers in my apartment, but yeah, it's a go back. I want to use AI responsibly. I do not want to pay for API calls and agentic workflows, which is why I've invested so heavily in the local LLM and doing everything through my local setup. Ansible is still on here. I still use Ansible to this day.
No more free NAS for TrueNAS?
This is a fantastic book for learning Ansible. It's by Jeff Geerling. It's Ansible for DevOps. I highly recommend you pick it up and learn Ansible. It will make your life so much easier.
For a while, he was giving it away free as a PDF.
He still does, I think.
I think the link is still there.
Yeah. Whisper. So we're going to talk about Otis here in a minute. But I use Whisper. I still use Facelift as far as it being on the slide. Again, met Facelift rep in the airport. Facelift is not allowed to be hosted locally unless you pay for the enterprise version, unless you buy a Facelift rep a drink. I didn't buy him a drink, but we did hang out in the Capital One Lounge because our plane was canceled at the same time, so we spent 6 hours watching football, talking IT, and when I left, he gave me a license to let me self-host Facelift.
Are you just using it for home custody?
Yeah. But this weekend, it broke. And my license no longer works. So no, we'll have to figure out something else. Harvester is what I use for my virtual machines. Home Assistant plugs into Otis. We'll talk about more in a minute. New Vector is the security for my Kubernetes cluster. N8N is my workflow manager. All of my agentic workflows run through N8N. Jellyfin for my media. Longhorn for my storage. I found that Kubernetes is not always the best thing for running containerized workloads, so I still have Docker for individual images that I don't want inside my Kubernetes cluster. RKE2 is the bedrock of my Kubernetes cluster. That's my Kubernetes engine. I am obsessed with Obsidian. I now use Obsidian for everything. I have plugins that interact with all of my self-hosted apps. I sync them across my network. I love it. Mycroft AI is once again tied to Otis. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And Olama is the local LLM that I run. So, Linux is the heart of my infrastructure. One of the sayings that I have come to embrace is that there's a tool for every task, and every task has its tool. And when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. One of the things that I discovered about Linux is that Linux is very diverse, and different Linuxes are better at different things. So don't just learn one flavor of Linux and try to hand jam everything into it. Learn a couple of different flavors, find what you want to do, find the Linux that helps you do that the most effectively, and learn to use it. That's why I have multi-Linuxes still inside my home lab. So my heavy hitters, the things that I rely on the most, the Meerkat, that's my daily driver, Mac Mini, the OpenSUSE Elite boxes run my Kubernetes cluster. Zorin OS machine handles my apps. Raspberry Pi is on the edge, and V-Link is the rags. We've already talked about that. I think we're last night. So my container and automation stack. So I use a combination of Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. RKE2 is for my Kubernetes, New Vector for the security, Harvester for the VMs, Longhorn for the storage. I use a combination of Semaphore and N8N to manage patching, and New Vector and Mako. Mako is a tool that I designed myself for observability and security. Mako basically plugs into New Vector, pulls the relevant information, and hands you things that New Vector doesn't, such as end of life for short software. Yes.
So having seen this Ansible, copy pasta here, I have to ask, do you have something against cows?
Why do you say that?
Because you have cows disabled in your Ansible.
I was hoping you guys would pick up on the science fiction references in that. That is fake, by the way. I took a real piece of code and changed around the name. And if you're a sci-fi fan, you'll catch some of it.
Oh, I can't read it. Assistance.
Yeah. So the theoretical cluster in this is called Northern Lights. User's name is Finch. You've got Bear. You've got Shaw. Little Easter egg / scavenger hunt. If you guys want to figure out what that's all about. So home networking. I'm really bad at this, but I'm determined to get better. So stage 1, frustration. Old switch, which by the way popped this weekend.
Would that also do the patching?
No, I don't think so. It may have inadvertently been what broke the patching, to be quite honest. I'm not quite sure what's happened. All I know is that I went in to reset all the networking stuff. That box is dead. That switch is gone. It's an old switch. It was donated to me, and it was unmanaged, so I was able to do what I wanted to with it. Stage 2, look for host DNS. Again, I failed at this. I'm trying again though. Tailscale, decentralized mesh network, and VPN all in one. I highly recommend this if you're not good at networking. Get it started, get it set up, and then learn your way around the networking. I can't stress this enough. There's 2 things tonight that I guess impose upon you to learn. Learn Linux and learn networking. You will thank me. The home lab is a great place to learn this. And stage 4, multiple VLANs. I ended up with a TP-Link Armada. That is my primary router. I had a switch that I was using to host my private VLANs, and now we gotta find another switch.
You looked into head scale for hosting your own scale locally.
No, I actually, one of the things I like about TestScale is I can actually expose that and hit my network from outside unless you have my information. It's hard to find.
When you said multiple VLANs, was TP-Link aware or was
The TP-Link is just the motor and the wireless. I had another switch that I was using earlier.
switch?
Yes.
What?
I don't remember. I said it up
So I mean, if you're doing layer 3 on switch that one, probably just a little bit. You your home lab where you got this one never go forward.
No, we'll get to that in just a
MikroTik is the way.
second. So my plans for the future. 3 racks for my AI, financial, recreational, operational. So my AI locally is going to manage my infrastructure. I'm going to use it to track my multiple calendars because I am calendar challenged, as my colleagues on the board have learned to recognize. And financially, I'll be quite honest, my wife's and I's finances are kind of all over the place, and I'm using this to wrangle everything down. So it's actually doing quite well with it. Self-hosted application, self-hosted storage, multiple steps of replacement components. One of the things that I've started doing is building redundancy. We'll talk about shopping and sale in a minute. But as I find a piece of the equipment that I already had, if I find it for a good price, I go ahead and scoop it up and keep it in the box ready in case something pops. I just didn't get the switch in time. So your environment matters. This is something I think that a lot of people neglect when they talk about their home lab. You need to have a primary workstation. This is a place where you can sit down and get in the mindset right away. This doesn't sound like a big deal. I know a lot of people start their home labs from a laptop, but having a place where you go and sit down, it triggers something. It's a habit forming. You eventually get into the habit of sitting down, and your mind automatically gets into the workspace that you need to get into. It takes some time, it takes some discipline, but when you get there, it works. Keep it neat and clean. It needs its own monitors, and I highly recommend dimly lit with cast lighting. Why? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to work late at night when I'm working in the home lab or when I'm working on something IP. I will get ready to go to bed, my eyes will be sting, they'll be tired, I'll go in, I'll lay down, and I can't get to sleep. So I highly recommend the warm load or the warm modes on your monitors. Task lighting keeps the overall lighting down. You still have enough light to work, but it's not so much that it takes your body hours to come down from working late night sessions. I have a standing desk so that I don't have to get up and break my workflow. My desk, one of the scripts I've written, my desk automatically stands at 45 minutes. 30 minutes of standing, my desk automatically lowers. I don't even have to think about it. It's kind of a pain sometimes, but it keeps me honest, and that's just one less thing I have to worry about. Get a good chair. Maximic gaming chair. I came into that in 2016, averaged 20 to 30 hours a week in that chair. 10 years later, it's still almost as good as the day I got it. So, good chair will end up saving you money in the long run, helping your posture, and will help with long sessions. Drawers for storage. You need storage. Don't leave it laying around. Dust is a killer. So, I have a hard enough time cleaning the things that I'm operating currently, much less all the things I'm not operating. And as your collection grows, the amount of things you have to clean grows. So I highly recommend drawers. Alex drawers from IKEA are fantastic, and you can actually use them for a desk. They're just that right height. If you don't want a desk or standing desk, simply go to Home Depot, get a butcher block, 4 feet long or so, get a couple of hot fittings, roll down to the top of the Alex drawers, boom, got a desk.
If you're already working out to IKEA and you're not shipping it, they do actually sell just a desktop. It's not officially supposed to go with the Alex's, but it does.
That works. I think our nearest IKEA is
Atlanta.
Nashville or Atlanta.
They
Atlanta.
closed one in Memphis, Nashville. They have like national distribution centers.
Memphis
Okay,
is
so
still-
There's a guy somewhere around here who just like takes a bread truck on a loop occasionally.
That's okay.
Coordinate through a Facebook group.
So the other thing that I do is I don't allow SSHing into my machines, except for my Kubernetes cluster. So I use KVM switches all over my lab. So this is an example of a 3-to-1, 3 monitors in, or 1 monitor, 1 in, 3 out. So each one of my machines, 4 switches here. The one I have at home for I have 2 workstations, one for dev, one for prod. My prod is 4-to-1. I highly recommend if you don't want to allow SSH in, that you pick up some KVMs. CalDigit and Anchor for my docking stations for all of my laptops. CalDigit is fantastic, but it's pricey. I found one for a very good price, so I got a hold of it. Before then, I was using Anchor. It's just as good, and a quarter of the price. Yes.
So are you KVMing these all to your workstation?
Yes. So, sayings I've adopted. The juice is worth the squeeze. For those of you paying attention, I asked if you knew the quote, a few brownie points. No one spoke up, so I'm guessing no one knows the quote. Timothy Oliphant said that in The Girl Next Door. I think that came out in 2004, so I'm showing my name. Constantly evaluate the cost-benefit ratio of what you're doing. That's important if your home lab is to learn new skills. If you're using a home lab just for enjoyment, just break stuff, don't care about it. But if you're doing it to learn, constantly evaluate the cost-benefit ratio. A system must be both desirable and reliable to be production. Once again, only if you're running production services in your home lab. If you and your family start to depend on a home assistant to turn the lights on or open the garage door, or you're dependent on Jellyfin to provide all your media, those are production services. And I can assure you that when they don't work, the spousal approval factor goes way down. I don't have kids in the house right now. They've all left the nest. But I know people who have kids. When Jellyfin goes down or Plex goes down, people aren't happy.
Jellyfin had a bad week.
Jellyfin had a bad week. It did.
Plex.
All 5 of the founding members have stepped away.
Oh, really?
Of Jellyfin.
Oh,
So I may have to go with Plex. Who knows? I've heard there's a fork already, but
Plex had like 4 or 5 mountains. Because they're also, one thing, if you don't mind, Alex, I was
Yeah.
gonna say is specifically for assistant. I'm sure like hackers for programs assistant. But for the people that don't ever get into it, don't use just like little keyboards. Always have a simple switch, whether or not you use like a single controller switch or a relaxed switch.
Yeah.
Always have vocal control or mother-in-law or father-in-law comes over. You don't want to explain, what freaking robot.
Like I said, I've been extremely impressed with the Notably's anyway switches. And I've heard good things about their Zigbee and Matter ones.
Yeah.
But I don't have Zigbee and Matter. All Wi-Fi and mostly Z-Wave. Actually, mostly Z-Wave with a little bit of Wi-Fi stuff.
yeah, I think a lot of us run Z-Wave. Z-Wave is in my place too.
Oh, how do you handle the USB stick?
I'm sorry,
How do you handle the USB stick
for what?
for Home Assistant for Z-Wave?
Because I run my Z-Wave, I run my home assistant off my an independent box.
Okay.
We'll get into that here in a minute too. There's no solutions, there are only trade-offs. I firmly believe in this. Thomas Sal said this in IT at Home Lab. It is true more often than not. Most of the time, you're going to get into something, you'll find a solution that'll create another problem, or you'll find that you had to get something up to make that solution. Failing fast is overrated. Failing fast rewards quantity over quality. That's an opinion. You can keep making that what you will. I have found that when I fail fast, I tend to not pay attention to the mistakes that I've made, and I tend to repeat.
More agile garbage.
Extreme programming is 13 snakes that are also just trying with each other to bite you, but the instant you pull one of them out.
Okay, so enough about my stuff. We got 10 minutes left max. So advice on getting started, shop to sell. So I have a virtual assistant at home that I created. His name is Otis. Otis uses a combination of LinkedIn, Microsoft AI, and Olama, and he does everything for me. Whisper is how I voice activate him. I have infrared sensors that detect when I get close to my magic mirror. My magic mirror is an interface where I can have him spit text out to me when the voice interface isn't going to work. The text to speech is buggy, still working it out. One of the things Otis does is once a night, he goes out to all the websites that I've asked him to go out to, and he pulls in information on what's on sale. Like if he thinks of four websites to go to, he goes and finds them, and then he reads them off to me at 6:30 in the morning while I'm making coffee. He also goes out to all the websites that I want news from, tech news, politics, local weather, all part of my editing workflows. Currently broken because Otis broke over the weekend. But you can see here, these are some of the things that he goes and looks for. I tend to, if you're going to do something like this, I highly recommend that you don't do it by price, you do it by percentage off. Percentage off tends to be more reliable and will keep you from getting scammed.
How many bankers lamps do you own?
Not enough. I cannot explain to you how valuable I find a banker's lamp. Banker's lamp is one of those green brass lamps that you cast lighting down, but there's no light that comes up.
Oh, that looks like a short flush moment.
They're nice lamps, but
They're nice lamps, and I can tell you,
is it double digits?
Highly valuable. Yes, it is. And the reason why is because those bulbs are notoriously hard to find, they're expensive, and those lamps, the ones I've gotten, are all used, and so you never know when one's going to get.
Stokes carries Edison screw tees.
Well, mine's still using incandescent.
Yeah, those are incandescent.
Okay.
The ones that are long, like cylindrical.
Yeah.
Stokes stock them.
Well, I tend to get these at a good price, so. If I were to start over today, so my home lab, 6 years old. I have made all kinds of mistakes, bought things that I don't need, overpaid for things, so on and so forth. If I were starting over today with everything that I know, this is how I would do it. Windows 11 machine for video editing and gaming. I know you can game on Linux. I know they said that you can do it. I'm telling you right now, it's just easier to game on Windows. Juice is not worth the squeeze yet. It's getting there. Valve is doing fantastic things with Steam Deck. Just not there yet. Mac Mini M2 or higher. I highly recommend an M4 because the M2's planned obsolescence. I'm sure it's coming along soon. So here's how I priced it. GM Tech Mini PC Gen 10 with a Ryzen 5 processor, $319 on Amazon. Best bang for your buck. Or a System 76 Mercat. It's a little more expensive, $850. Mini Swarm PC, $450-ish. Used or refurbished HP Mini Elite Desk 800 Gen 3 or up, as low as $88. Used on eBay, or you get them refurbished on PC liquidations, which I shop a lot. $142 Ugreen NAS 2-bay, $389 on Amazon. So I went ahead and priced it out. Oh, I'll get to that slide in a second. Sorry, I skipped. So, yes, I did. Okay, I just did it up top. So, clean start, my budget build. I chose the GMK Tech Mini PC Gen 10, the Ryzen 5 processor for $319. The Ugreen NAS 2-bay for $389 with two Western Digital 4TB, 3.5-inch spinning hard drives. Mac Mini M4 from Costco, $530 with the Ugreen dock for $55 from Amazon and a 1TB Western Digital Black NVMe drive as external storage. I found a Cisco 2960 series 24 port switch. I bought that right before I left. So it's on its way.
Is that one that's got the little like module on the side?
Yes, I believe so. Actually, I don't know. Do you guys know your model numbers?
Oh, it's got a
2960s.
Sorry.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Well, I found one for what I considered a fantastic price at $90.
there's a very
Nice price.
Okay. So I'm pretty excited. I've not had a Cisco switch before. It's going to be a whole new learning experience for me. The thing that I like about Cisco switches is Ansible works. It just works.
So we should ask the room, who's got Cisco firmware access? Because I don't.
Honestly, Alex.
You have the internet, right?
No problem.
It's out there.
Yeah.
They're able to find them.
That's easy, right?
Yeah. Ubiquity was something I was looking at, but I couldn't pass up a $90 Cisco plan.
I know. Are you getting an
Octo
octo?
or 10 gig?
It is 10 gig, I believe.
1020.
Is it 10 gig?
Not that I remember, but.
I know they
it's
have.
been a minute.
I know
What,
you can
two
get one.
USB ports in it?
I'm pretty sure it's 10 gig.
They have to be SSD plus.
I'll have to look.
There's a variant of that I've been drilling of, like the first phase
Oh,
of multi-gig.
Oh, well. So total out the door, if I were spending budget bill, $2,100. So I added a little bonus at this. I'm a hardware nerd, and keyboards are my thing, right? Keyboards and mice. Which, by the way, brought this to show you guys. This is my favorite mouse in the world. This is a Corsair Iron Claw wireless mouse. It will only work on Windows.
Yeah, IQ. You can't. It doesn't have persistent memory, so
I like it. I can't help it.
No, it's the same.
So my little bonus here is the Ala F108 Pro keyboard with caramel latte switches. Will thank me later. It is on sale right now for $90, typically about $110. Check it out. Just listen to the video. We'll let you listen to the switches. Trust me, you will thank me. Okay, how I would build it out. If I were starting out, how many people in this room know Linux? How many people would need to learn Linux? Okay, so I would recommend installing Zorin OS on the machine, premium. If you don't mind donating a little bit of money, that would allow you to skin it like what you know, and then do 90% of your work on it. Get into the terminal, learn your way around it. When you feel comfortable that you kind of learned your way around the basic Linux portion of it, then spin up a couple of virtual machines, try different distros of Linux, see what you like, and then eventually move to that. In the beginning, I highly recommend Zorin OS. If someone were to come to me today and say, I want to learn Linux, where should I start? I used to say Linux Mint. Before that, I would say Ubuntu. Now I'm saying Zorin OS. It's an Ubuntu downstream. I would install and configure OLAMA and N8N on the Mac Mini natively at first. I highly recommend that you learn to run N8N in a container. N8N has some NPM dependencies, and NPM has been getting hit hard with CVEs right now. You can run that in a container. I highly recommend doing so. I run it on my Kubernetes cluster using the Mac Mini to solely run OLAMA. That's helped with performance, but also it helps protect my N8N. Connect the Ugreen NAS and start learning to use your storage over the network. You're going to have plenty of storage with this build that you can do locally, but I recommend that you start learning to manage your storage via NAS. Set up your network or your wireless network via your router, and then find a switch for your private VLAN and learn your way around networking. Just for fun, I decided to swing big. $6,000 budget. That's nothing, right? You guys all make good money. No, I'm kidding. This is a little out of there. But let's just say that I came into some money, I got a bonus or, whatever. This is how I would do it. This is how I would set up the cluster right now if I was doing it and I could choose pretty much what I wanted. Thelio Prime custom. This comes from System 76. Mac Mini M4 Pro, that didn't change. Again, that Mac Mini M4 Pro, 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, unified memory, and it's got a 16-core neural processing unit, which makes it ridiculously good at running AI. Upgrade your monitor, Dell 34-inch monitor. I've got on there. It's $330 on Amazon. Recommend picking up 3 of your HP Mini Elite Desk Gen 9s. That's what I'm using. Find them for $512 per unit online. Ugreen NAS stayed the same. My Cisco switch stayed the same because I'm excited to get it, and we'll see what happens. Maybe that should be a better switch later, but for right now, that's what I'm doing.
It will be a fun bump to this one.
What's that?
So there's a variant of that Cisco switch where a third of the ports can do 5 gig.
Oh.
And you can get flex stock adapters for the Mini Elite desks that are 5 gig. And then you can have 5 gig even in 2 nodes.
Okay.
10
be
gig
down
kind
for
of
that.
cooks them, but they can do 5.
Most of them run 2.5 gigabyte on that. So, advice for once you're up and running, embrace failure. I can't stress this enough. You are going to get frustrated. Work through it. I hate to say rub some dirt on it, get tough, but you're going to fail, and that's okay. You're going to break it, and that's okay. I'm not looking forward to fixing mine, but I am looking forward to fixing mine. So we're going to that content. Don't just invest in hardware and software. Find instruction where you can. YouTube's a great free resource. I also highly recommend Udemy. Buy courses on there for as low as $15. I've seen some for $10. Watch for holidays. They tend to run sales on holidays. The internet is going to be full of free advice. I'm not going to say don't listen to any of it, but I'm going to say don't be afraid to disagree. Just because all the experts are saying this, that you want to do this, don't be afraid to go and do this. And if someone tells you you're an idiot for trying, and that happens to everybody. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Linus Tech Tips does a Linux challenge. And this year they did a Linux challenge. He chose Pop OS, and a bunch of people gave me crap about using Pop OS. I think some of the people gave the other guy a hard time about using the Steam OS desktop font, bit something.
Bazzite?
Bazzite. But yeah, just the forums are rough. Understand you're going to get beat up a little bit. Don't worry about it. Learn Linux. We already talked about that. Learn containers. I recommend learning both Docker and Kubernetes. I strongly believe that AI is going to live in containers. HPC is great at scaling vertically, but that you don't always need that for AI. And horizontal scaling is so key at handling multiple workloads. I believe Kubernetes is where AI will live. My last piece of advice was given to me when I first started, and I promptly ignored it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It is easy to spend a lot of money and burn yourself out on this. Curb your enthusiasm and get in there and learn, but take a break. It's okay to step away and think about things for a little bit. It's going to feel like you need to go. I got to fix this. Oh, I'm so close. Sometimes stepping away, sleeping on it, taking a walk, giving it a week, coming back later, you'd be surprised at how much you figure out in that time away from the screen. Wishful thinking. The longer I'm at NIT, the more I want to be in a cabin in the woods with my Jeep and my dog.
Is this the corollary of EL retired eco farmer?
It's either that or a food truck, right? That's what they're
right. So on this slide, I have my LinkedIn profile. I also have my email, and you can email me with any questions if you don't think of them today. I'd be happy to take questions now. But since we're running short on time, I did want to end on my bonus slide. We talked about Otis a little bit. What does Otis stand for?
Yes.
Optimal Telematic Information System.
I don't think it's very awful.
But It's not off right now.
So it's offline.
So full transparency, my grandfather's name was Otis. He worked, or he was in the Navy in World War II, and his group helped craft the Japanese code. So this is more of an homage to him, and I forced the acronym to do. So in this setup, I talk about what Otis is, how he connects to the Kubernetes cluster and the Mac into, and my Nook is named Hal. So
What model do you run it on?
4 right now. Just one more. Yeah. Because really all I'm doing right now is patching and running queries against the internet. It works for what I need.
You just run it along on top of the Mac OS.
Exactly, yeah, natively. No containers. I skinned it right across the top. It performs beautifully.
Have you integrated any MCP?
Not yet, haven't needed to.
Yeah.
But it's
cool.
coming. It's
Have
coming.
you played with like Hermes or anything with the stuff that's packaged?
A little bit, but I've come to appreciate the workload I have, and I haven't really wanted to branch out past that because I don't want to disrupt. Again, because it's broken now, I may take some time to look at it.
I think it's with those kind of tools, it's almost like an uncanny valley where you trust it 60%, but if you can't trust it 100%, it's hard to include it in workflows. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Where until there's a tool where I 100% trust to walk away for a year and come back.
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep it.
Okay, so questions? I covered a lot of information. I know some of it was
You said the slides will be on the website?
slides will be on the website.
There was a lot on there, but thank you, enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Here is my, at the bottom, boring and isolated over elegant and clustered. One of the things that I do recommend is that if you decide to run Kubernetes, work hard in understanding when a workload runs better on a traditional system than in a container. Trying to force things onto a container will make your life harder if it just runs better natively. Have a reason to put it in the container, whether that's high availability, whether it's horizontal scaling, whether it's, in my case, N8N, using it for security. NuVector is fantastic at making sure nothing gets into N8N, and that N8N doesn't do anything nefarious that it doesn't already know. So, yes.
Are you familiar with John Green's system anthems?
Familiar would be a stretch, but I'm aware of it.
You reminded me of one of the lines out of there. It's that one of the paradoxes of the systems engineer is the systems engineer avoids creating systems where they must justify their own complexity.
That's fair. It's a fair assessment. I've done my time trying to containerize everything. I've done my time trying to automate everything, and I have found that there's a balance that you have to achieve. That balance depends a lot on your risk tolerance, on your time. Some things just run faster natively.
Just because Ansible can run an ad hoc command doesn't mean you shouldn't just SSH and just type the damn command.
And quite frankly, if you're going to patch everything, understand that you may break a lot of things. Sometimes it's better to patch individually, especially when you know that there's a breaking chain.
Tiny patch from John Gall, not John Green. I misread the name.
I don't know that I know that name. But sounds like a philosophy I can get behind.
Yeah, my copy is currently on loan to someone, so I can't loan it to you right.
That's fair. I brought things from the home lab. This is an Amcrest camera. This plugs into my home assistant and allows Otis to see me. And it's all local. All happens with me. There's no cloud component to this. Highly recommend getting a decent screwdriver set. You're going to need it. Not all of your external storage has to be a fancy SanDisk or Western Digital. This is a little Insignia case. Put an NVMe in it, plug it in via USB. Yeah. Nice and easy. KVM switches, you're going to carry cords. The other thing that I wanted to point out, this is the Kubernetes book by Nigel Halton. Yes, I think that's how you say his last name. I have met him twice at KubeCon. He's a fantastic gentleman and a very good author. He also did an AI book that I also highly recommend to read. And feel free to come up and touch. I brought show and tell for touching purposes. So come up and check them out.
Did you bring your own confidence
Wow, what?
monitor? The confidence monitor.
I did. So as I get older, I also find that I don't see as well. So that's why I've got my reading glasses, and I wanted to make sure that I could see what I was presenting. So I brought a secondary monitor so I can cheat. Right there.
Do you have a list of the recommended reading material?
Yeah.
The slides.
No, but I can put them on the end.
I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. I would recommend reading a lot. I'll also put some recommended student sources if you would like.
That would be cool.
The final one for you. So far.
Which of them did you derive as the most personal joy?